political party hired a foreign intelligence asset to make up information, then get it to the FBI, and the FBI knew and has now admitted it knew the information was false and the source was bad. Even so, they went to a federal secret court, applied for a warrant on their political opponent, and lied to that federal court to obtain that warrant. If you can't come to terms with that, then you have no opinion or basis to stand on to attack our integrity and the leadership I have at the FBI. Look at the individuals that did that. Ask yourself the tough question in the mirror, not you, the fake news media. I want to prop these people up and say we're the ones weaponizing government. It is the height of hypocrisy to have someone accuse us of doing that when they are the ones that created that maniacal system to satisfy their own egos. They're just pissed that we figured it out, and the guy that figured it out is now the director of the FBI, and the attorney general is a great partner, and she's right. We're just warming up.
How do you balance your attorney general got a lot of pushback when it seems as though that they were threatened to punish free speech? Even people on the right became very concerned about what is the bar, because even if the speech that you hate is what separates America from everyone else, how do you balance all this against?
Look, it's simple. We will defend your right for free speech to the maximum extent of the law. If that free speech turns into violent activity, you will be arrested. That's it. That's the difference. You can have hateful speech that I don't agree with or you don't agree with, and you and I see it all the time. We're victims of it all the time. But that doesn't make it a violation of the law. And that's how we balance it. We don't make it personal. We never take it personal. And the men and women here at the FBI who run these cases and adjudicate these decisions, and the intel analysts and the support staff that come into work every day, they know that. I see it. I feel it every day. I walk around this building. I meet the folks that are doing it, and I engage with them at a personal level, something I'm told my prior predecessors didn't do, because I want them to have a connection to leadership and the mission that we are leading, which is a mission-first approach to defend the homeland and crush violent crime and bring record-breaking transparency to the FBI.
You know, we know the Senate hearing is a kangaroo court. It's political theater. And obviously, you're human too.
Yep.
And you pushed back, obviously. They accuse you of being the most dangerous person to the mission of the FBI from those confirmation hearings. If you could do things differently, would you? Or what is it would you like to clarify on the record that the Democrats and their agenda accuse you of?
I wouldn't do a single thing differently. I would just ask the media to ask their audience, why is it that the people that continue to attack me can't understand the basic fact that we have proved that they weaponize law enforcement? And do you want to know why they call me Dangerous Armstrong? Because I am, to their fabricated, weaponized system of government. And we are going to bring down the entire disease temple. And they know that I know what happened. And so their best line of attack is to get the fake news to make personal assaults onto me. And here's how I know, more than anything else, that I'm over the target. The louder they are, the more they scream, the more they don't have a factual point to levy against me. I know I'm doing my job, and I'm not going anywhere.
I want to come to January 6th. It is intriguing that 250 FBI plainclothes agents were inside the Capitol on January 6th. I saw the president's tweet to get to the bottom of it. Who placed them there? What were they doing? Were they inciting violence? What can you tell us, Mr. Director?
This is a great example of the president's initiative to solve all the answers on January 6th. And it's another example of our transparency efforts. Pursuant to the president, we investigated the matter and found out why FBI agents were placed there in the first place. And it turns out we found documentation and witnesses and whistleblowers that said we were forced to go there to do riot control. Armstrong, do you know what the FBI does not do ever? Riot control. We don't do that. So the prior leadership sent 250 some odd men and women into a situation they're not trained for, put them in harm's way, put the individuals out there in harm's way. And also, those individuals have collectively responded or said beforehand that they were forced to go there. They didn't volunteer to do that.
Do you believe it?
That's their word, not mine. That's what they reported. That's what they wrote down at the time of and stated. And we made those productions of Congress, which is the only reason you know it, because I'm the only director that's willing to work with Congress to get this information out there. And so I think we are in a better position than we have ever been in terms of transparency because of President Trump's initiative to be that way, but also to fully investigate matters of great public importance like January 6th. And we're going to continue on all of those matters while we execute the mission of safeguarding this country. And that's the thing I want people to take away the most. If you focus on one thing, that was a knock at Congress. How are you doing the other thing? Because the FBI does double duty all day long. They do triple duty all day long. That's how good they are. And when you let them do the work and not hover over them and micromanage them, they're out there doing this. Summer Heat, Viper, they're doing Operation Not Forgotten, things we haven't even talked about, tribal land law enforcement in record numbers, seeking and finding international terrorists in numbers that we've never seen before. This is what they're doing all day long. In Congress, or at least some of the people in Congress, don't want to hear about the successes of this FBI because they're the ones that participated in building a corrupt FBI.
The director of the FBI, Kash Patel, is our guest. We'll be back with some final thoughts. I'm Armstrong Williams. Don't...
It's ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Do you have the fire to go further?
Some Republicans, Mr. Director, argue that Nancy Pelosi staged January 6th and the Select Committee covered it up. Based on what you personally know, what are the verifiable events in the lead ups? And do you, I know you don't speculate, you just deal with facts.
I'm in a unique position. Remember, I was Chief of Staff for the Department of Defense on January 6th. We were responsible for the deployment of the National Guard. And what I was forced to testify to years ago at great personal cost has now once again, just like Russiagate, been proven true because all I do is speak the truth. On January, actually in the days before January 6th, we were in the Oval Office where the President Trump at the time, authorized, pursuant to law, up to 10 to 20,000 National Guard. We took that authorization because the law's second part required a request from who? Nancy Pelosi and the Metropolitan Police and the mayor at the time. And what did they say? No. And remember what happened for the next 2 years? They say, oh, Kash is lying, Trump's lying. And what did we find? Letters of their declination of the National Guard, refusing to have the National Guard show up. So all I could speak to is the facts. And the facts are those plus this. Nancy Pelosi and her team were busy filming a movie on January 6th while this so-called chaos around her was going down. If she had, just look at it this way, if she had said yes to the National Guard and we had 10,000 uniformed military officers established a secure perimeter, do you think January 6th would have gone differently? President Trump saw and proactively acted, and Nancy Pelosi and the local government shut us down, and now that is abundantly clear. I did the same in Russiagate. I proved the truth. I spoke the truth, and I did it on January 6th, and now look where we are. Everybody's now saying, oh, you guys were right again.
You know, you've advocated aggressive action against violent extremists. What's your red line, Mr. Director, that prevents the state from drifting into, let's say, policing ideology? And also give us a recent case where government crossed that line.
So I'm so glad you brought this up because I totally forgot about it. It's one of the most important things we do. We call it nihilistic violent extremism. And the main network that does this is called 764. And what they do is they go online, and not just in America, this is a scattered group throughout the world that goes online and targets our youth. And what they literally do is cause and convince members of our youth to be radicalized. They cause them to self-inflict mutilation on themselves. And in some cases, they even cause the kids to kill themselves. And so what I ask state and local authorities across this country when I travel is, I need your help. We, the FBI, have a 300% increase this year alone in arrests for nihilistic violent extremism. Just us. But the recognition and the training we need to bring to the rest of the country is something that we are keenly focused on. But I don't think we missed the mark. I don't think folks overreach, at least for the FBI, in those disastrous situations where the parents aren't able to police where their kids are going out. This is why I tell you social media and these gaming platforms are wildly out of control. Nobody's on there. Nobody knows what they're doing.
Should there be penalties for media that publish leaks that later prove false
Yes,
and harmful?
100%.
100%. Financial penalty?
I think there should be the same measure of accountability as if anyone else did it. Now, that's up to Congress to decide how to do and add additional penalties. But I think what the American public is owed the least, which is where I have some control, is who was responsible for the leaks. And I have probably 2 or 3 dozen leak investigations going right now where journalists leak classified information, possess national defense information, and again, put out false information for the purposes of weaponizing, politicizing their.
I want to come to personal toll for you in terms of what did your defamation battle cost you financially, professionally, and at home? And would you advise others to litigate or just ignore?
So I'm blessed to have an amazing family and network. And besides God, they're the only ones that I care what they care about. And so I'm great there. And in terms of my defamation cases, we've won some. We're still litigating the rest. And for those that see what we've done and the trail we've established, I encourage you to stand up and fight for yourself. Because if you allow these organizations and people online to make up information about you and attack you personally, then they win. And as anyone knows me as well as you do, I don't bend the knee. And I ain't about to start now.
So, should the U.S. formally designate the domestic groups as terrorist organization? If not, what's, Mr. Director, the right to RICO, material support analogs, or case-by-case prosecutions that avoid criminalizing an ideology?
Yes, I think Antifa, specifically speaking, as an example, we have to recognize these groups for what they are. If we as a society just allow these riots to continue, then we as a society are going to be engulfed by the criminal activity these people are doing. LA, you can't attack law enforcement. You can't throw rocks and boulders at law enforcement. You can't in DC assault law enforcement. In Portland, you can't set fire to a federal building and get away with it. How is that acceptable? And it's all being caused. It's not individual acts of violence. It is organized anarchy and chaos. And thanks to the president's initiatives, and when I was there in the Oval Office when he signed it, we are getting after the fight with more resources and tools than we've ever had.
You know, I found it interesting that your latest on the Anti-Defamation League, political fronts masquerading as watchdogs.
Yeah. I mean, just go look at the glossary index of what they used to have as what they called the equivalent of terrorist organizations. Turning Point USA on the list. Just to name one example.
So you thought they were a useful tool for former director James Comey?
No, I didn't. Absolutely not. I don't know why he ever partnered with them, except to bandy his name about in the public and work with the lobbyists down on K Street. Let me tell you something about this. When word got out that I was about to kick the ADL out, do you know who called this building? A lobbyist for ADL, begging for a phone call. And I said, no. That's how I knew they were in the wrong the entire time. And we proved it. And we put it out for the world to see.
What has surprised you the most when you arrived here?
I think a couple things. One, I was really surprised at how handcuffed our 1811s, our brick agents, were in the field. How many levels of permissions they needed to do their basic day-to-day jobs, and how much bureaucracy just they had to shoulder. So we eliminated it. The other thing I was shocked is nobody planned for the longevity of this place. We're sitting in a building that's 60 years old, and people have been trying to move out for 20 years. We broke through the politics. We're moving next year to the Reagan building. By the way, we're saving the taxpayers $4 billion in that move.
But you're definitely not going to Maryland.
No. And we're saving the taxpayers all that money. And also, we're giving this workforce a safe environment to work in. Why didn't anyone think about that for 20 years? What about the infrastructure? What about the AI? What about tech? Why isn't that here in a system across the board? So the great thing is, with our private public sector engagements, we're doing it. We're doing it. It's not patchwork. We're bringing in new ideas and innovative ways to triage data with AI. We're building an infrastructure system and a cyber system that allows the FBI to talk to everybody at one time. Nobody planned for that because it was not the sexy thing to do and it didn't get them headlines, but that's what we're doing.
You know, being the director of the FBI is a big deal. You know, I watch a lot of crime shows like Forensic, Without a Trace. They always talk about the FBI crime labs in Quantico. Tell us about the uniqueness of the FBI crime labs, Forensic, the things that they do that nobody else can do better.
Sure. When a case or a crime happens, let's use the Charlie Kirk assassination, for example. The FBI's crime lab in Quantico, we also have a huge facility in Redstone Arsenal that does brilliant explosive training and cyberkinetic training and amazing systems that we're involving our state and local partners with. We flew out there. We used our air assets on a rotating basis to bring the gun, the towel, the screwdriver, the ammo back to our facilities here for immediate DNA analysis. And what do we have? Positive hits. What do? We put that out publicly so that we can tell the American people what we're doing. That's just one small example of what the FBI lab does. DNA analysis, chemical analysis, explosives analysis. Our men and women in the lab there would literally impress you beyond maybe anything else the FBI does, because without them, we couldn't do this job. And the training center we built down in Redstone Arsenal, Alabama is something you should come down and see. It is a magnificent feature of advanced training of where this FBI should be going, where we're taking them. Because while Quantico is awesome, it's not enough to meet the throughput requirements I need for the 1811 demand that the American public must have. So we're getting creative, and you're going to see some fun hybrid options going forward.
You know, it goes without saying the gratitude that we at Armstrong Williams Show had for sitting down with you and giving us this exclusive. In the minute that we have left, with your critics who say your educational and experience journey did not qualify you to be in this role as the head of the FBI, what do you say to them? What you bring that is so unique, and why this is the time and place for you in your career?
That's the best example of disinformation I've ever seen. I served in government for 16 years. The Democrats fought to delete that from history. I was a public defender. I was a federal public defender. I was a national security prosecutor for the Department of Justice in the Obama administration, chasing down terrorists around the world. I was a civilian at Joint Special Operation Command, embedded with SEAL Team 6 and Delta Force, doing collaborative global targeting of high-value targets. I went to Congress and led the most consequential investigation exposing the largest weaponization of government in U.S. history in Russiagate. Then I went to the White House and ran counterterrorism for an entire White House and country. Then I became the Deputy Director of National Intelligence. Then I became the Chief of Staff for the Department of Defense. I oversaw our DOD at the time and our intelligence community and its 16 agencies. If that doesn't qualify you to be the FBI director, I don't know what does. But the fact that they're knocking me and they're trying to delete it from history tells me that I'm more qualified than anyone before was in this seat.
Mr. Director, Kash Patel, thank you so much for joining me.
Armstrong, thanks for coming to HQ here. Appreciate it.
Armstrong, 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 Armstrong.